Hello, everyone. Today I'll be discussing my analysis of the article Introducing the Dynamic Model of Conceptual Change, which was by Nadelson, Hetty, Jones, Teso, Basharazi, and Johnson. I'll share what I learned, the conclusions I reached, and why I decided to use this specific article for my paper. So the article authors introduce what they call the dynamic model of conceptual change, which explains how students shift from incorrect or incomplete ideas in science to more accurate scientific understanding. The model focuses on things like motivation, emotions, prior knowledge, and meaningful learning experiences. So, as I analyzed this article, a few things stood out. First, I appreciated that the authors did not treat conceptual change as something simple or automatic. They heavily stress that students need more than just new information. They need support that makes them want to change their way of thinking. I agreed with this because many students hold on to misconceptions even when shown the correct explanations. Secondly, I liked how the author connected motivation and emotion to learning. They say motivation, and I quote, motivation is a central driver in whether learners will engage in conceptual change. This matched what others researchers have found, like Pinchurch of 2002 and Sinatra and Mason, who argue that students must be personally invested before deeper thinking can happen. Despite it having all of these strengths, there were also a few gaps. So, one thing is that the authors discuss motivation and cognitive conflict, but they don't provide specific classroom strategies that teachers can use. There were not clear steps for challenging misconceptions, so I did expect more of a practical application. I also noticed that the article didn't really address on a deeper level cultural factors that influence how students experience conceptual change. Maybe if it was written in a more current time, that would be different because in today's diverse classrooms, this is an important piece that felt like it was missing. So, first, overall, I learned about what conceptual change is. And I also learned that it is not a one time event, it's a continuous process. Students build ideas, they question them, they revise them, and sometimes they even revert back. Another thing is that I learned is that emotions matter in science learning. Science learning is usually focused on fact, but knowing that emotion does have a driving factor. I learned that frustration, curiosity, and confidence all affect whether students will change their mind. And lastly, good science teaching requires both cognitive and emotional support. This made me think differently about building learning environments and how I, as an educator, can influence these spaces to make sure that students feel safe and motivated. So, after reading and comparing this article to others, I've come to the conclusion that conceptual change requires instruction that challenges misconception, but it also requires motivation, meaningful context, and emotional safety. Teachers must work to design activities and curriculum that help students want to rethink their ideas. The dynamic model is useful, but teachers need more concrete examples to apply it effectively than what was provided in this specific article. So I chose this article because I had never heard of conceptual change, but just seeing a couple of articles posted, it seems that it's a major issue within science education, especially within topics where students have strong misconceptions in spaces such as energy or climate. This is a newer model and more modern than traditional conceptual change theories. And I also chose it because it connects my own interests, which I'm extremely interested in equity and culturally responsive science instruction, because I really want to understand how students change their thinking is essential for designing better learning experiences.